Murrayville, Langley, British Columbia, lost many sons, brothers, husbands, and fathers to the ravages of World War I. Local families were grieving the loss of their loved ones. Others had loved ones return home, but they were forever impacted by events they had survived and the scenes they had witnessed. It was supposed to be the war to end all wars, but alas, that was not to be. When the First World War broke out in 1914, Langley was largely a rural community, and by the time the war ended in November of 1918, close to 400 men, about half of Langley's adult male population at the time, had served in uniform. Of these, about 1 in 10 would never return to their homes and families. Langley's wartime losses hit the community hard. Veterans of the war who returned to Langley left many of their friends and neighbors on the battlefields of Europe. Residents vowed to ensure that their fallen comrades would be suitably remembered and commemorated. Roads were renamed, memorial trees were planted, and funds were raised to construct 2 stone monuments, each to be inscribed with the names of Langley's known war dead. In 1921, the community erected 2 cenotaphs to honor local soldiers who lost their lives in World War I. One was erected in the Fort Langley Cemetery, and one was erected at what is now known as the Murrayville Cemetery. The Murrayville Cemetery has a history that extends back to 1891. The cemetery was established by the Independent Order of Oddfellows, the Cloverdale Lodge No. 15, and it was named the Oddfellows Cemetery. William Murray donated the original 3.2 acres to the Oddfellows Lodge. In 1904, the Township of Langley purchased the cemetery and renamed it Langley Prairie Cemetery. It was in the early 1920s, however, that the township discovered that although it had paid the Oddfellows for the cemetery in 1904, the change in title had never been registered. This omission was not rectified until 1925. But over the years, it has come to be known as the Murrayville Cemetery. A veterans section was established in the northeast area, complete with a stone cenotaph in the form of a Celtic cross. Unable to visit loved ones' graves abroad, grieving relatives remembered their fallen on their stones here in Canada. The cenotaph dominates the veterans section of the cemetery, recording the names of the Langley individuals who died at war. Murrayville's War Memorial was constructed to honor the 36 young men from Langley who lost their lives during the First World War, and following the Second World War, the names of a further 40 soldiers, sailors, and airmen were added to those already inscribed on the memorial. Initially serving as a place to mourn a loved one buried overseas, Murrayville's War Memorial serves as a broader reminder of lives lost in the cause of freedom. As in the years that followed, the memorials became the sites of annual services of remembrance. In 1964, a cenotaph was erected in Aldergrove by Legion Branch 265, and Remembrance Day services have been held there ever since. But as Langley's post-war population changed, attendance began to wane at the 2 cemetery locations, and by the 1990s, formal services ceased altogether. In 2000, Fort Langley services were revived, but for some years, Murrayville was the only Langley cenotaph without an official ceremony, although a number of local individuals would gather spontaneously. One of these persons was Rosemary Jenberg, a born and raised Murrayville pioneer and member of the Langley Heritage Society. Her grandfather, J. Stevenson, was a First World War veteran. Her grandfather, H. Woolley, and her uncle, Ellis, are both buried at Murrayville and had served in the Second World War. It had bothered Rosemary that there was no formal service at Murrayville. So following a conversation with a fellow Langley Heritage Society member, the two ladies decided to do something about it. In 2017, they organized a simple but meaningful remembrance ceremony. And during planning, Dave Manson, a local resident, heard about the new ceremony. So he and his grandson put up his 240 flag collection around the cemetery perimeter. It was a spectacular sight. Expecting maybe 50 to 100 people to attend, they were shocked, amazed, and grateful that over 300 people attended the ceremony. Since then, attendance has continued to grow, and according to the RCMP count, about 1,500 people attended last year. The organizing committee has grown now to include 6 community members. Financial support has been provided by the Canada Veterans Affairs Department and also by several very generous Murrayville individuals and businesses. But the program has remained simple, meaningful, and respectful. However, in 2020, Murrayville Remembrance Day ceremony will look very much different. COVID-19 has brought with it a whole new set of public health safety guidelines. Representatives of groups or organizations have been invited to participate in the actual ceremony at the cenotaph, but a specific number of persons only can attend, and it's vitally important to contain the total number of persons present, and so traffic control personnel have been hired to help accomplish this. So because a gathering is not permitted this year, the ceremony will be live streamed to the entire community. Please do not go to your local cemetery in person on Remembrance Day. Rather, join with others and view the proceedings safely at your home. A link on the special website that has been set up will direct you to the live ceremony on Remembrance Day, November the 11th, the proceedings commencing at 10:30 a.m. The website is www.murrayvilleremembranceday.ca. Strange as this COVID year may be, we must never forget our veterans, nor the price paid by many who gave their lives for our freedoms. We will remember them. We will remember them.